Hello everyone, welcome back to CS Netflix. In this video, we'll be discussing about asset properties on transactions and DBMS. In the previous two videos, we've discussed what are transactions and what are the states in the transactions. And now, asset properties is a very important topic which we'll be discussing in this particular video. Now, whenever you perform a transaction, either be it your bank from your bank transactions or either be it your from Google Pay, whatever transactions you do, each of these transactions will have to follow asset properties. You might not experience it that asset properties are being followed, but yes, conceptually every transaction will follow asset properties in one or the other way to avoid concurrency issues. And definitely when there is more than one transaction operating, that is if there are more than one transactions, which we call it as concurrent transactions, which are executing at a particular time, there will be issues that will arise. And we call these issues as concurrent issues, and we'll see what are the issues which will be arising or the type of issues in the next upcoming videos. But long story short, the thing is, to keep these issues from not occurring, we definitely need to follow these asset properties in our transactions. So let us start with discussing what are these asset properties. Here asset properties is nothing but ACID is an acronym for atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability, as it is mentioned there. We'll start with discussing our first property, which is our atomicity. In atomicity, it says that in a transaction, if there is a particular transaction T1, say there are 6 operations there in this particular transaction, either all the 6 operations should be performed or none of the operations should be performed. Consider there are 2 data items A and B. We'll get back to our initial example which we used to take, and B is having rupees 50 and A now has to transfer rupees 50 to B. So what happens now? After transferring, A will be left with 50 and B will be having 100, and the same thing is going to happen here. So first, to perform that transaction, we have to simplify it into operations. So what are the operations needed to perform this transaction? We'll see here. First we'll read A, then we are going to deduct rupees 50 from A, then we are going to write back the balance, updated balance to A. Then again we'll read B, we'll add that amount, B is equal to B plus 50, and then we will write back to B. Now these are the 6 operations for this particular transaction T1 which are needed. But now what happens? Consider here consider out of these 6 operations, only 2 operations are performed, and after this failure has occurred. Now in this particular point, what it has to be done is, either all the operations have to be performed or none have to be performed. It can't be halfway. So here, since failure has occurred after 2 operations, we have to roll back to our initial state. We have to roll back to our initial state and restart the operation from the beginning, which means this 50 rupees which have been deducted should be undone and should be put back to A's account. And we have to restart the transaction again from the very beginning. So that is what is about atomicity. So let's read out. As a transaction is a set of logically related operations, either all of them should be executed or none of them should be executed. So that is what is about asset property, atomicity in asset properties. Now there is one particular part of a program called as transaction manager. So the transaction manager has to make sure that atomicity is being followed by each and every transaction. So this might be a multiple choice question which could be asked. So atomicity should be managed by whom? By your transaction manager. So this was all about your atomicity. So let's move on to our next property, which is consistency. So the second property is consistency. So what consistency is saying is that the data in the database must be consistent before and after transaction. Now look at this example here. A initially has 200 in its account, B also has 200 in its account. So the total makes up to be 400. Now let us say A has to transfer rupees 50 to B. Now what happens after transferring? A is left with 150, but B is getting 250 rupees in its account. But still the final result, total value remains the same. So that is nothing but your consistent data. So the data in the database should be consistent before and after the transaction. So that is about consistency. Now the third property is isolation. In isolation, it says that each transaction must be executed without knowing what is happening with the other transactions. Now this might be a little difficult to understand, so we'll take an example here. Now consider there are two transactions T1 and T2, both operating on the same data item A, and initially both are reading A to be 100. Okay. Now first T1 is starting its execution and it's performing the read operation on A. Next, A has been deducted with rupees 50. Now two operations are performed in T1. In the meantime, what happens? T2 has been started now. Now there is an error which is occurring here. Why? Because A has been deducted with 50, but there is no updation done. There is no updation done. So what happens when T2 starts its operations, first operation, it will try and consider that A has 100 in its account itself because there is no updated value of A here. So what happens? A will be taken as 100 only, and then again rupees 25 will be deducted from A, which will be 100 minus 25 equals to 75, right? So here 50 is the value after deducting from A. Now after these two operations have been performed in T2, T1 is performing the update operation and the value will be updated to 50 for A. And after that, what is happening? Again T2 is performing the write operation where the value is updated to be 75. Now can you see the data is inconsistent here? There is no consistency in the data before and after the transactions are being performed. So this cannot happen. Here what is happening is that the transaction T1 is affecting transaction T2. Yes, this should not happen and this is not isolation. What we can do for isolation is we can serialize the transactions, which means we can tell that we can tell transaction T2 that T2 you cannot start until T1 has updated and completed its transaction. So either T2 will wait or T2 will not execute at all. But it will never execute whenever T1 is halfway. Okay. Only after T1 is completed, then T2 can start. This is called as serializing the schedules. We'll see what is serializability and the concept of serializability in the next upcoming videos. But this is a very short concept of serializability which is coming here. What these two were parallel schedules, these two were parallel transactions. I am trying to serialize them now. That is, after the transaction T1 has been completed, only then T2 can be operating, T2 can be executing. Why? Because the transactions T1 and T2 are both operating on the same data item A. So that is isolation. Now even if these two transactions execute, there is no interference of T1 with T2 and both are totally isolated transactions. Yes, so that is the concept of isolation. So each transaction TS must be executed without knowing what is happening with other transactions. So that is a property of isolation. Next, the second point here to notice is that concurrency control manager performs isolation. So there is one part of the application called as concurrency control manager. So this part of the application is going to make sure that transactions are running in isolation. Okay, so this was all about isolation. Let's move on to our last property, that is durability. Now here durability is telling that all the transactions, all the updates done by the transactions must be permanent. Now for example, let us consider you had booked a movie ticket. Okay, you had booked a ticket for a movie and it was you got a message that yes, you have got this and this seat number. Okay, say consider you have got seat number 1, 2 and 3. And the next day you go to the multiplex to watch a movie and then it says that no, these 2 seats have been reserved to someone else. This transaction has never happened at all. Do you think this transaction was durable? Not at all. The transaction wasn't durable. So that is the example for your durability might be. Okay, so durability is nothing but whenever a transaction is done, okay, whenever a transaction is done, that transaction should be done forever. It should be permanent until and unless you do some other update for that transaction. Yes, until and unless again there is some update from your side, the transaction should remain the same and that update which is done earlier should be permanent. So that is about durability. So all updates done by the transaction at a particular point must be permanent. And who is responsible to make sure that the transaction is durable is your recovery manager. Recovery manager is responsible for durability. So one part of a application program called as recovery manager will take care about durability in the transactions. So I hope all the 4 properties of asset properties are now being clear. If you do like my video, do like, share and subscribe to CS Netflix, and stay tuned and stay updated for more upcoming such videos.